So, colorectal cancer has been in the news lately because of this frightening statistic just released by the American Cancer Society, and because famous people keep dying from it. But today I have been sent to you as the delegate from the, that was close, late stage 3 club, to talk about a few things that you're not seeing, that we think you need to know. But be relieved. Today's talk is not about my problematic digestive system. No, today's talk is actually about something that we think we need your help on inside the club. Let me give you the headline. Cancer doesn't just attack the body. Cancer stress tests and breaks systems of support. So in my around 10 years in this club, thank goodness, I have seen some interesting things with the folks that we call early onset, or the people who were diagnosed under 50. We report experiencing these 4 things. Number 1, cancer ghosting. Cancer ghosting is when people in a person's life before the diagnosis disappear soon after, sometimes even people who were married to them. Number 2, vigilante helpers. Now this is a new phrase because I invented it. It is sort of the opposite. Vigilante helpers, they are about helping. They want to help, but they help centering themselves and control of the patient. So this is helping that harms. Third, blame. Oh my gosh. We get blamed for everything. Lifestyle, genetics, where we were born, what moon sign our sun is in. We get diagnosed for things like, did we eat bacon? Did we even have a sip of wine at any point in our lives? Have you even seen a cigarette? We get blamed for everything. And last, disregard for the patient's privacy and dignity. So in my case, some care gaps showed up even before my diagnosis did. I had to be at the hospital at 6 a.m, an hour before my son's bus was to arrive to get my diagnostic colonoscopy. This, for a single working mom, is a nightmare. My friends were like me. They were also divorced, parenting, and they too had kids to get on school buses. This seemed like an impossible thing to solve until I remembered I'm good at this. I'm a scrappy solo mom. I am really practical. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get an Uber to take me to the hospital, and then my friend is going to pick me up after she puts her kid on the bus. I thought this was a great idea. I was very proud of myself. The nurses did not agree. Turns out I had broken the number 1 medical rule that is unspoken. If you are alone, you cannot be sick. But I was alone. I mean, not alone in the world, but for what the medical system assumed I had, I was very much alone. And after my diagnosis, as I got into the medical system, there were so many reminders of this. Every intake piece of paperwork wanted 1 to 3 emergency contacts. My surgical discharge instructions assumed that I had someone to hear my HIPAA-protected information, take me home, and then care for me in the aftermath. Recovery. As I saw what I was up against, the truth is, I did think that maybe I didn't have what I needed to treat it. And I considered not. And then my friend found that there is this online patient support group for colorectal cancer patients and their caregivers called, y'all aren't ready, it's called Colon Town. I hated every syllable of it. Worse, Inside of Town, there are all these little neighborhoods, they call them, for diagnosis and staging. They put me in Rectalburg. I'm supposed to find my answers to this really complicated situation in Rectalburg. And then I did. I found not one, but thousands of stories just like mine. I saw me represented in women and women that were under 50 and caregiving. I saw patterns emerge, especially in the early onset women. For us, cancer wasn't just a medical trauma. Nope. For us, it was also a social one. What I had socially was so bad that I told my nurse navigator, Julie, a pack of wild elephants could do a better job at taking care of me than what I had. Turns out, I was right. African elephants are extraordinary caregivers. They move long distances in these intergenerational packs. The babies and the injured and the elderly, they go in the center. And then the aunties form a big ring around them, sharing protection and caregiving responsibilities. That's brilliant. And as I studied these elephants, they reminded me and taught me 3 things that I'd like to share with you today. Number 1, suffering is a part of life. We will all experience pain and heartbreak. We will all experience illness. And if we're lucky, we will age and one day die. When we forget this, we lose a part of our humanity and our dignity. Number 2, there is no shame at being at the center of the circle. Illness is not a moral failure, and yet we humans forget this. In the face of illness, especially cancer, we panic, we flee, we moralize, and we judge. And that, from someone in the club, happens all the time. And it's so painful and so human and not helpful. And last, our place in the circle will change. More on that in a second. Okay, while I was studying the elephants, I found someone who's in the club, but in the breast cancer one. Her name is Susan Silk. She's a breast cancer patient and also a clinical psychologist. And she knew what we knew. People around cancer patients do and say really weird things. Her work talked about it and gave us helpers a framework for when we want to help but don't want to make it weird and definitely don't want to harm. It's called ring theory. Oh. She and her research partner, Barry Goldman, have given us something that I find is really helpful, so I'm going to introduce it to you today. So here is ring theory. Super simple. It's a series of concentric circles. So in my case, I would be at the center, okay? So here's what we need to know as people who care for others. When you have someone in a crisis, any kind of crisis, especially something like cancer, you put them in the center. And then you take a little snapshot of the social ecosystem, theirs, of the moment. Now, not 30 years ago, not 5 years ago, but the one in the moment, because we know these things change. So in my case, in my social ecosystem, my 7-year-old would be in the ring, because he would be the next most affected. Okay, here are the simple instructions, super simple. Locate yourself in the ecosystem and then comfort in towards the person at the center from your ring. Now, here's what we don't want to do. We don't want to jump all the way over 30 people to get to the person at the center. Remember those vigilante helpers? They are Olympic jumpers. Also, remembering that when we're in a crisis, no one is at their best. No one, especially not the one in the center. So we want to take comments, critiques, unhelpful remarks, and cures involving lemons out. 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 Dump them at least one circle out. You don't have to keep it to yourself, but just get it away from the person at the center. So, this is ring theory. And I had the opportunity to take this to the big leagues when my mom had a heart event in 2023. But before I tell you that story, I need to do a little temperature check with you. Some of you may have checked out of this conversation. You may think, oh, that's a single mom, or oh, colorectal cancer, I've never had bacon. That's not proven. You're like, this is not about me, this care talk, she's a woman, this is women's work. Well, you'd be in good company. But that way of thinking has led us to a crisis. If we think of care as women's work, then it leaves women exhausted and under-resourced. And I happen to know there's a loneliness epidemic with men. It removes their ability to flex their skills as great caregivers. So here's my big idea. If we think of care as an art and a skill, then we all know that there are people who have God-given talents, just like in art, for caregiving, no matter their gender. If we think of it as a skill, then for the rest of us, we can practice and get better. And that's why I find ring theory so helpful. Okay, let me tell you about my mom. In 2023, as the story goes, my sweet dad in his mid-70s found my mom in the sunroom, slumped over in a chair, unresponsive, not breathing, making those end-of-life gurgling noises. My dad got my mom out of the chair and onto the ground, and he gave her CPR and chest compressions for 10 minutes until the ambulance arrived. When I got the call, they were at the hospital and she was intubated. We did not know how this was going to go. So, eldest daughter sprang into action, threw my kid and my dog in the car, and I drove 10 hours back to them. I was inconsolable. And then I remembered, I know what to do. I'm going to apply ring theory. And I needed to remember the elephants. So what I'm about to say makes family dynamics seem like a breeze in a crisis. That's not it. This is why I needed ring theory, to make sure that I did not harm my family in the desire to help my mother. All right, so here's the situation with ring theory. Mom at the center, and then my family, so my dad at the next circle. And then I have a little brother. He lives in the same town and works and goes to church with my parents. He would be in the next, and then me. Okay, there's the confession. As the eldest daughter, I fight really hard not to jump rings, because I've got research, I've called people, I know things. This is my way of helping. But had I enforced what I wanted on my family, I would have caused harm. So I stayed in my ring. I comforted in by asking Aaron what he needed and did exactly that. I asked my dad what he needed, and I did exactly that. Caring for them was caring for my mother. She survived. Yep, she's okay. She's watching this. Yep. This choreography of care did not save her life, but it did preserve our relationships in a very scary time. And I think healed a little bit that was left over from my own cancer experience. Okay, so what do we do with this, right? You have an opportunity every day to practice your skills. It doesn't have to be a late-stage cancer diagnosis or a widowmaker heart event. It could be that your partner's had a really bad day, or maybe your friend has lost their job. You know what to do, right? Remember, locate yourself in the ecosystem of the moment, then comfort in towards and dump out. And even if, like me, you really want to take that late night shift, don't force it. Go home, eat some gluten-free Oreo cookies, and call your friend Melanie to complain. Because that is how we preserve a person's dignity and we preserve the relationships of the time. And so, okay, when you're practicing, last thing, if you step on a toe or bruise a shin, please know that's normal. When we're learning new steps, new choreography, we're gonna make these mistakes. Just remember, elephants don't ghost. We need us all to make a place that has caregiving, person-centered, as a way of life. Thank you very much.